Here on the West Coast, in LA, it's 9:15. The topic for tonight, Uber, the company, Uber, the rideshare company, in my opinion, and I've been involved with them for many, many years, the future does not look bright for this company. And here are a couple of the main points before we dive in. Uber's operating income, excluding one-time gains, has been negative since its inception. Profitability was not improving prior to the global COVID-19 outbreak and is now likely to worsen. There's no doubt about it that it has dropped considerably. A company from Israel, Superfly, has said in certain cities their business has dropped by 94%. Uber and Lyft will very quickly tell you it's only dropped by 50%. Drivers know that that is not true. Uber Eats has been losing money on every delivery. Hopefully you're wearing your gloves, your masks and everything and staying safe at home while I'm making this video. Again, Uber Eats has been losing money on every delivery. Many restaurants are now closing and demand may not increase as much as hoped. So a lot of these restaurants just cannot stay above water. So that relationship between Uber Eats and a restaurant falls apart in many cases. The larger chains in that, yes, they sort of keep Uber Eats still going. Rides have seen a significant impact from the virus, with bookings not expected to begin improving until at least the third quarter. I would agree with that. So it'll take quite a while before this blows over. And Uber has been burning through cash and will begin to face liquidity issues as early as 2020. I actually foresee issues even before that, right? The one thing that saves them right now is that most of the cases, I know my case and many other lawsuits against Uber have been pushed all the way over to September. So they get a pass on all the legal fees, all the legal lawsuits that will be coming to them this year. But we have David Chin in the house. Hello, Professor, big fan. Thank you, my friend. How is Tina? Did she get her supplements? I express shipped everything off today, Dave. Thank you for asking. I put multiple high-end supplements together for her, and then also lung-related tablets to help her open up. Looks like she doesn't have much at all. She's not very prepared. She only has a bit of Tylenol. So everything that I could get my hands on, I expressed off today. So we pray for her. And she's going to keep us updated. She texted me. She said she fell asleep. She'd been sleeping all day. She's so wiped out, the poor girl. She said, sorry, this was at 7:48 p.m. She said, sorry, fell asleep. It's in a yeah, she just woke up at like 7:48. It just shows she's completely knocked out. So pray for the girl. Back to the article, and I'll keep you guys posted on Tina. Her and I are staying in touch. Since the outbreak of COVID-19 began, Uber has seen enormous swings up and down in its value as investors aim to forecast the true effect of the virus on its operations. I believe, that's the writer, great article, says that exclusive of COVID-19, Uber should be trading around $15 to $20. And I would agree with that. You know, that's sort of like the span that I could really see the stock positioned in, somewhere between 15 and 20. In fact, I took some bets with people that by Friday it would be down to 18.50, I believe I said. Given the continued growth of operating losses, excessive cash burn, increasing high interest debt, and growing competition in both its rides and eats markets. So in the food eat markets, a lot of the drivers are actually leaving, obviously, the riding sector, and they're signing up with Instacart, they're signing up with DoorDash, Grubhub, etc. So even on the Uber Eats side, if people did sign up over there, they are running 3 or 4 apps to stay busy, right? People are running multiple Eats apps at the same time. That is hurting Uber in a big, big way. The global virus pandemic will push Uber to greater operational losses this year as rides demand plummets and loss-making Eats deliveries grow. This greater than expected operational loss will increase cash burn, with expected cash usage in 2020 between $7 billion and $9 billion, causing liquidity issues as early as 2021. I have said this in my past videos weeks ago. This is exactly what I predicted, is that they are going to burn through cash like no tomorrow, and that they will still be utilizing their cash revolver this year. I mean, they have all of these overheads to carry, all of these hubs worldwide. They have let tons of people go. They're going to have to rehire. They delayed the construction of their big mammoth 400,000 square foot building in Chicago. I mean, they're hurting. And, they still have to keep that infrastructure going. And none of these individuals has forgone their salaries. All the executives still get to expect paid. I mean, Dara, one of the only guys, at least compared to Uber and Lyft, is not willing to forgo his salary. So he's expecting to get $45 million when there's no money coming in. So it's just bleeding and bleeding and bleeding cash. And they say could easily go through 7 to 9 billion this year. Dave Chin says, be right back. I might have to catch replay. Thanks for everything. Thanks for dropping in, Dave. I appreciate you. So a bit of the graph here did plummet all the way down to 1490, came back 22, what was it, about 26, 27, dropped back down again. And today I think has sort of shot back up a little bit after a few positive COVID reports. It came back up to 25. David Pham's in the house. Good evening, my friend. Thanks for working so hard for us. I'm keeping this. Dara sucks indeed. Yes, he does. I'm with you on that. 2 thumbs up on Dara sucks, right? The turd needs to be flushed. He needs to go. I mean, he's a disaster to drivers. What this man has done to drivers will never, ever, ever be forgiven. Right. So there you have the graph. Now, Uber's income is also deteriorating. Uber's core business idea is incredibly simple. Everyone knows how a taxi works. They've been around since the 15th century. Uber generates significant revenue from rides and growing revenue from Eats. However, the current level of revenue generated from these trips is not enough to cover the other costs. I mean, tell me, what money is coming in on the Uber Eats? Okay, on the Uber Eats side, yes. But what money is coming in on the ride side? That is where they make the bulk of the money, right? So if that pond is completely dried up, where's the cash? On the other hand, you've got all this money going out the door, all of these overheads, all of these expensive salaries, all of these layoffs, all of the hubs that have to be carried, all those leases worldwide, all those buildings in various cities worldwide, right? So Uber's income statements over the past 2 years have, from a brief look, swung wildly from a net profit of 987 million in 2018 to a loss of 8.5 billion in 2019. Uber's business divestitures in 2018 boosted net profit, while excess share-based compensation due to its IPO in 2019 enhanced losses. Normalizing the income statement for these one-off costs and gains reveals Uber's true income from its day-to-day operations, right? If we can look at that chart a little bit closer here. I'll put the link there for you guys so you can see it. It doesn't really reflect very well there. In 2019, Uber saw a normalized net loss of $4.3 billion, up 8% from 4 billion the year prior. Revenue grew 25% in 2019, although normalized operating costs grew 28%. Uber has been operating for over 10 years and had 6.9 billion trips in 2019. Scale is not Uber's issue. The costs are. Now, the one thing Uber has done on April the 1st, one of their biggest overheads they completely got rid of, and that is they are not allowing referrals anymore. Well, they've basically cut the driver off from driver referral earnings, just freeing up all those marketing dollar payouts. But what they're illegally doing is they are still using the codes, still using the landing pages, still using individuals' driver codes to collect monies, to collect drivers, but not pay out. And I've spoken to several attorneys in the field. That's just not doable. That'll create an avalanche of further class action lawsuits against this company for all of these drivers that demand to be paid for their referrals. So I don't know how this company operates or thinks. I don't know how they're going to wiggle out of that one. But, there is such a legal law in place called grandfathered laws or grandfather clauses, and they just chopped the legs off that one on April the 1st. So people are not going to be happy. Lawsuits are going to be filed. They may not be heard during the times of the pandemic, but once this blows over, they will have to appear in multiple courts around the country. And multiple class action attorneys that I've been speaking to are busy drawing up the paperwork. People are coming with negligence and malpractice lawsuits regarding the pandemic, Uber matching people with drivers, and so on and so on and so on. So I think the biggest challenge will be all the lawsuits that they will be facing because of their inability to lead during the pandemic, the inability to step up. And that's not even factored into this equation. Mark my words, that's going to be the biggest problem this company will face. Uber has 2.1 billion in unamortized stock-based compensation to be recognized over the coming 2.5 years, with this expected to rise as new compensation is issued. Reducing cost for Uber is tough. Drivers' earnings are the primary cost. However, changes in laws globally with the enforcement of minimum wage and taxes have made reducing this cost for Uber very difficult. The company can reduce R&D spending by reducing or dropping automation development. This, in my opinion, is a gross misallocation of resources for Uber, given large names such as Tesla, Google, investing significantly more and likely to obtain results in a fraction of the time. Full automation is likely years out, and future cost savings to Uber will be of little consequence if the company goes under from current losses. So they're even talking here using the language that the company could go under from current losses. And they're not on the same level as Tesla or Google when it comes to automated vehicles. They're still far, far behind, right? They're still lagging there. David Pham says, I filed for unemployment benefits, no response here, 2 weeks. And honestly, David, thanks for being in the house live in the live feed. I don't see any answers or checks, at least for the next 3 to 4 weeks. So I wouldn't get too excited about money being in your account or in your post box, your mailbox in the next 1 or 2 weeks. I think realistically, we're still 3 to 4 weeks away minimum before we hear anything. Uber could boost earnings through price increases in delivery, ride fees, or increased revenue from restaurants. However, in an incredibly competitive market, customers prioritize low cost and convenience, and restaurants prioritize the lowest margins and delivery time. As such, if competitors don't also increase prices, Uber will quickly lose market share. So the only way, to drum up extra money, they would have to increase the fares on riders. that pool is done. There's nothing. There's absolutely no certainty, no guarantee in that segment of the market for many, many months to come. And as the person said, we can't just, or they can't just increase rates on restaurants, take more from restaurants, or increase higher delivery fees, etc., because the market is so competitive. They would be left behind. People would say, well, I'm not going to go with them. I can get that meal cheaper over there, right? And restaurants are going to say, you know, we have choices here as well. We don't have to be squeezed by Uber Eats. We could do great deals with Postmates and Grubhub. So, you know, Uber is in a bind as far as that one goes. While Uber's rideshare segment has seen significant growth in competition from companies such as Lyft, it remains the company's one profitable segment, producing an adjusted EBITDA of $2.07 billion in 2019, with EBITDA rising as revenue rises, unlike Eats. Revenue and rides saw a significant boost to the end of 2019, with adjusted revenue climbing from $2.4 billion in the second quarter to $3 billion in the fourth quarter, while the adjusted EBITDA adjusted revenue margin grew to 19% from 17% in 2018 and 6% in 2017. Eats adjusted revenue also grew over 2019 by 82%, although adjusted EBITDA loss grew 120% from $601 million to $1.4 billion, right? So again, those are the last rosy 2019 numbers. 2020 looks very, very different from about February onwards. COVID-19 boosts loss-making Eats and decimates profit-making rides. So COVID-19 is having a significant negative effect on Uber's core business of rideshare and boosting loss-making deliveries for Eats. US virus cases have increased significantly, with cases expected to peak over the next 3 weeks. That's very accurate. Fatalities in the United States alone are expected to be around 200,000. We can all but expect a full lockdown for the United States, much like in New York, one of Uber's main 5 markets, and Europe. Uber stated in its 19th March conference call that Seattle rides trips were down 60 to 70%. Drivers that I was speaking to reported 80 to 90%. Superfly from Israel reported down 94%. So I don't think that Uber and Lyft are truly giving the right numbers to the market or in the press. Obviously, they're fluffing the numbers. The trips are in fact down way, way, way more than that. Since then, virus cases in the United States have increased significantly in Seattle and King County. On the 19th of March, there were 874 confirmed cases, while now being over 2,330. In Hong Kong, Uber noted a peak reduction in rides of 45%, which had improved back down to 30% over 2 months. We are unlikely to see a V-shaped recovery in Uber rides, as demand from tourism is likely to be significantly reduced until next year, and businesses are limiting employee travel at least till the third quarter. People, once they start operating, that's not where they're going to spend. And the other problem that they haven't even factored into this article here is that there's this mass exit of drivers heading out to other jobs. You know, they may not return to Uber, right? They may say, hey, like Mark Cuban said, companies, people and riders and users are going to judge companies by the way they treated their employees in the pandemic. So who knows if riders will even return back to the company, right? This chart over here, US COVID-19 cases since Uber's fourth quarter conference call. COVID-19 cases in the United States have grown 12-fold since the call and are set to continue. This is only here at March the 30th. It's gone way up now that we're in April. Eats has seen a boost in popularity, which is true, as individuals are unable to leave the house and most are working from home. However, in Europe, the majority of Uber Eats large chain restaurants have closed, including McDonald's. In the UK, due to safety concerns, and local restaurants have shut their doors due to a lack of demand for delivery, with most restaurants in Europe relying on eat-in customers to keep the lights on. It has become uneconomic to keep operating. Uber, Deliveroo, and Just Eat have all launched huge Europe-wide campaigns to boost deliveries, hinting at slowing demand. Europe represents around 15% of Uber's total revenue, so a significant hit on demand in both rides and eats could seriously dent top-line performance. Now, I'm definitely dialed in as far as the US market goes. I give you a lot of updates every day, but at the same time, I'm also constantly receiving intel from Europe, from all the markets, from drivers, and it's pretty much a mirror version of what's going on here in the United States. Although consumer behavior is more attuned to restaurants providing takeout and delivery in the United States, we are still likely to see a drop in demand for eats as economic conditions worsen and consumers become wary of excess expenditure, right? So, as people are looking at their finances, they can't just order Uber Eats in every day, right? They're seeing their earnings dwindle, they tapping into their cash reserves, they're hoping for stimulus checks, money's running out. Ordering an Uber Eats meal is an expensive idea in a few weeks' time, right? So only the sort of upper echelon, high income earners can probably afford that. The majority of the people are going to be really going into stores, supermarkets, trying to get their hands on cheap pasta, rice, etc. So that has to be factored in here, that this luxury of ordering Uber Eats in is going to slow down drastically, right? As you said, as economics conditions worsen and consumers become wary of excess expenditure, Uber Eats is currently offering $0 delivery fees on food from restaurants classed as local, i.e. independent restaurants. This will worsen costs for Eats and will put greater strain on poor profitability. Now, when you hear such thing as $0 delivery fees, you ask yourself, where do they make the money? Uber actually takes a huge chunk from these restaurants, around about 25%, right? Which really digs into the profit margins of restaurants. So not only are restaurants closing and having to spend more money to get creative, but here, on the other hand, for example, they have to hand over full 25% to Uber. And by them issuing a zero delivery fee cost just to, entice people to use Eats versus Grubhub Post, it's a very competitive market. They are undercutting the prices and they're hurting their bottom line as well. Nathaniel Davies is in the house. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you. I'm trying to drum up as many hours as I can over here on the new channel. I'm trying to hit that 4,000 hour mark so I can bring a lot of other good material. He says, hi, Rideshare Professor. In Arkansas, no, only see 1 or 2 Uber cars on the passenger app. Yeah, it's dead. Genuine's in the house. She was in the, oh no, you were in the feed this morning, right, Genua? Damn, Professor, where do you get your energy? You are always on the go. I go from morning till night. That's very, very true. Got to keep it going. And then, that's when you see me on air. But I tell you, I've got a lot of other projects going at the same time. So trying to keep it real, trying to keep myself busy, trying to keep myself out of trouble, trying to just go as stir crazy as I can in these 4 walls, get as much done. But I do break out a lot and then, work on vehicles, meet with mechanics, have meetings, etc. like that. Michael Ryan's in the house. How are you? Genuine says, I know that. I appreciate that. And, we make a prayer for Tina. By the way, just an update. I sent out all the supplements, all the lung stuff to her, expressed it out to her. She fell asleep and she woke up at 7:48 p.m. tonight. She said she's wiped out from this virus. So we pray for our fellow lady driver, Tina, who's always in our feeds, when she can. And we'll carry you through this, dear. We'll carry you through this. Now, to carry on here, and guys, I appreciate you sticking in. And even if you're not listening to me, just let the video run. You don't have to listen to every word Rideshare Professor says, but what you're doing you are truly helping me get to that 4,000 hour line. We have 7 people in the house. We have 4 thumbs up. Smash that button if you can. Now, cash rules in troubled times, right? Cash truly rules in troubled times. We have seen that, ladies and gentlemen, back in the era of 2000 and 2008, 2009, when the housing market collapsed, the people had money, swarmed in and bought property at cents on the dollar, right? So if you have cash in troubled times, you're the king. And that is why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. You lose your house, they will snatch it up for a penny, right? Remember 2008, 2009, where that entire mortgage industry fell apart. I was one of the people that was buying a lot of property at that time, right? The prices were just too good to be true. And because I had cash on hand, boom, I think I closed like over 30 property deals at that time, just swooping up properties and then flipping them and selling them. So just the fact having cash on hand during those times, in those troubled times, was a huge plus if you had the cash. Now, can you imagine the amount of companies, the amount of hotels, the amount of restaurants, the amount of shops that are just going to close and crush because of this pandemic, right? Being drawn out months after months after months, that just cannot sustain themselves. Just like these guys, they're bleeding cash, and they close down. People will swoop in, the people with the money, mark my words, and they will buy up all these hotels, and they will buy up these restaurants, and they will buy up restaurant chains that have gone out of business for cents on the dollar. So those people who have the money, the Jeff Bezos people, the big heavy hitters, they come in. Warren Buffett, he loves buying companies that are devalued or gone out of business. They just sweep in and they buy up. They will have a field day after the pandemic, sadly, right? Nathaniel Davies says you should call yourself the gig share professor. I like that. So on this one, it's going to be very much gigs and business. The channel will be called Spot Above, because I truly want to be a spot above a lot of the other channels, just purely on the people that I'm going to be bringing in, purely on the topics that I'm going to be talking about, all the relationships. I want to bring in a lot of new faces into this channel. The moment I hit the 4,000 hour mark, I'm going to rebrand this channel. The other Rideshare Professor channel will still be true to the rideshare industry, holding these people accountable and more focusing on gigs. But this channel eventually is going to go in direction of business, the global digital economy. How can you set up your online courses? How can you create a membership or subscription-based type of websites? How can you maybe become a coach? Basically looking at the strengths of the individual. What is Michael's passion? What is Genuine's passion? What is David Pham's passion? What would they like to do? Everyone wants to be less and less dependent on these companies. And we notice that now more than ever, right? So if you can set yourself up in the digital economy, meaning you could work from home, right? You're learning that right now. You're truly learning what it takes to work from home. You're researching, you're going into live streams. What I do want to do with this channel is I want to show you how to create something, how to sell something, and how to serve the community, right? So when you realize that there is a need out there for your expertise, for Nathaniel's expertise, for Michael's expertise, for Genuine's expertise, right? Then you need to monetize that. You need to learn how to monetize it. I just got another inquiry for one of my vehicles that I'm selling, one of my classics. Yes, it is. Calabasas, where they can view it. My apologies. So, cash obviously rules in troubled times. In Uber's fourth quarter 2019 conference call, CEO Dara Khosrowshahi, I call him Khosrowshahi Shark, stated the company was in strong cash position. You remember that? He comes out there and says, we're in a strong cash position, really have nothing to fear. Well, then things changed horribly. Lamar Nazar's in the house, real estate teaching. Yes, exactly. So, Lamar, your expertise is real estate, right? It's Moose is in the house. He says, what's up, Prof? Just joined the live stream. Thank you. And by you guys joining the live stream, you're clocking up my hours. You're helping me get to the 4,000 hour mark, right? I need 1,000 subscribers for this channel. Already have double that. I have 2,000. I need 4,000 hours. So I'm working, putting in the hours to get to the 4,000 so I can open this up to many different exciting topics, including real estate teaching, right? You know, if you have value, you are a real estate agent or broker, and you've got a great formula and you believe your formula works, you may be the top producer in your office at Keller Williams or Coldwell Banker or Century 21 or Sotheby's or Remax. You know, these are big real estate companies, right? You can actually create an online course, let's say, for other real estate agents. It is my intention to create an insane, excellent online real estate marketing course. Meaning, how do I get the listing? How do I represent the seller? And then how do I actually sell this sucker? How do I sell this condo? How do I sell this townhouse? How do I sell this luxury home, right? How do I sell this ranch? How do I sell this land for the seller to get him or her the maximum amount, right? How do I get multiple bidders? So I will be creating a course for that, right? For the real estate market. It's Moose says, I remember, I think he bragged they were sitting on 10 billion. 100% correct. And it was big bragging and boasting to the investors. Oh, we have $10 billion. We have no problems. Exactly, right? And by the way, in that conversation, his labor force, his workforce, the drivers were not mentioned once, right? Not once. This was just telling that stock had plummeted all the way down to 1492, hit rock bottom. Panic was setting in. And they said, Dara, guys, cannot handle the media, does not know how to get onto a microphone, looks completely scared in front of a camera, right? And he like goes out in the media and says, hey, investors, not to worry. We have $10 billion. Now fast forward to April. How much of that $10 billion have they burned through already? Nothing's coming in, right? It's Moose, nothing's coming in. Money ain't coming in. Money is definitely going out, right? The 1st of April, several hundred hubs worldwide, those rents were due, right? 1st of April, all of those salaries were due for those heavy hitters. Middle management, higher management, they didn't take a pay cut. They didn't sacrifice their salary. They said, pay me. Out of what? So I think what they're doing, obviously very selfish, taking care of themselves, right? Saying like, look, if this company crashes and burns, we can always blame it on the pandemic. We tried our best. But while there is still $10 billion, let's take what we can. That is sort of how I see these people operate. Knowing how CEO Dara Khosrowshahi acts, knowing how Chai acts, knowing how Andrew McDonald acts, knowing how Pierre Dimitri Gore acts, knowing how Tony West acts. I've just named some of the top executives. It's like You know what? Words, 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 promises, promises, promises. We'll show a profit in 2020. Everything just to please the investors. Don't worry, we have $10 billion. Reality is they are hurting. And there are so many signals that I see that these guys are crying for cash. For example, let me just jump over here. This is why I know they are crying for money, right? This is an article now that they've, well, let me see, maybe I can get access to this article. Chicago Tribune. Look, these are indicators to me, ladies and gentlemen, that Uber is hurting. Uber halts construction in the old post office, marking Chicago's first big office project delayed by the coronavirus, right? 463,000 square foot just stopped, completely stopped, right? How much is just this one project, this one city, Chicago? I've given you one example. Down here in LA, we have 2 or 3 offices all shut down. They have a big office on 2400 Marine in Redondo. They could have 1/3 of the size. No, but they need a glamorous big building. How much does that cost? How much does that Chicago 463,000 foot cost them? How much does the Vegas hub cost them? How much does the San Diego hub cost them? How much does Orange County hub cost them? How much does the Palm Springs hub cost them? How much does the Berlin, Germany hub cost them? How much does the Sydney? They have all of these overheads, money going out like no tomorrow, bleeding. That's why I use the word bleeding cash, right? These estimates here say they will burn through $7 to $9 billion cash this year. I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, I ask my subscribers, my friends, my family here in the live stream, if you come out and make this bold statement that you have $10 billion cash on hand, and the expert in this article says they're going to be blowing $7 to $9 billion. If you do the math, that means they have $1 to $3 billion left at the end of the year. No guarantee that the pandemic's over, but they will have $1 to $3 billion left. That now they have to tap their cash revolver. Now they have to ask for injections, money injected by SoftBank, money injected by the Saudi fund, right? Just to keep this Titanic floating. There is a possibility that this company can go under. I'm not joking. I'm not making a joke when I say that. Romeo Bucala's in the house. He says, this is first time you live this late at night. Yes. And the reason is it's a long day and I'm marching towards the 4,000. I'm a person that sets myself goals, Romeo, every single week, right? The other day I made a goal. I said on 1st of April, I will come out and do a 6 live hour feed. That was my goal. I set these goals the night before, right? So I have strict goals that in the next 4 months, I have to reach 4,000 hours on this channel. And I'll meet my goal. You know, I set myself I'm doing another 3-month course for another digital sort of economy degree so that I can become a teacher in that field, right? Just, learning is growing. Tell you what, in these times you can take on a lot because I'm not out there on the streets, right? The very last food delivery that I did was yesterday, and I charge my clients $200 to $300 to go shopping for them because I get very, very big orders and I usually walk around for 2 to 3 hours filling up multiple carts, right? So I charge them about $200 to $300 individually, get all the food for a couple of my clients, and then I deliver them, boom, 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 boom. And that usually sees them through for another 10 to 14 days. But since there was an announcement this morning that they requested we try and stay away from shopping centers, Costco, Ralph's, Vaughn's, whatever you want to call it, they said, please, to flatten the curve in LA, could people not go out there and just stop shopping? Stop shopping. And I will do that, right? I'll do that. Genuine also says they need to be audited. Can you imagine they get audited? I mean, they would, like you said, there would be a mountain of discrepancies, right? The avalanche of problems still coming their way, lawsuits wise. My lawsuits against this company, I only have hearings in September now. They were moved from May to September. I had another attorney, Alan McPhee, on our live feed, on the Rideshare live feed about 2 days ago. He's a big trial attorney in LA. All of his cases were pushed out till September. My friend's cases will maybe be heard in September. And who knows? Maybe this is not over in September. Maybe it goes through to January. But then I can tell you, whenever the courts open up, people will be filing lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit after class action lawsuit. An avalanche of lawsuits is coming this way towards the Uber company. And I think they know that. I think they know, I think they just try to juice up the numbers and buy time. And like, you look at what they've done with AB5. This is how Uber works. This is how they play let me explain to you how they play the legal game. The state of California says you have to be compliant on January the 1st, 2020. What they do on the last day, right, of 2019, a day before that law kicks into effect, they file a lawsuit against the state of California. Now, back and forth, the first hearing you can only really get is in about 2 to 3 months' time. They file motions for delays, but the COVID pandemic virus saved them, because the state of California wanted those hearings heard. They wanted to be in court with Uber. They were defending this matter and saying, hey, here's the law, you just filing to delay. It's your classic game plan. File, delay, file a motion, delay, file another motion, delay. Try and win 2 or 3 years' time, because if they can win 2 or 3 years' time, right, they could possibly weasel themselves out of 3 times, let's say, Uber and Lyft combined in California, $500 million a year, a potential $1.5 billion that they would be liable for if they can push this lawsuit out, right, and get the stock price up. Just buy time. Not even taking the pandemic into consideration. This was their game plan. The pandemic helped them, right? So this avalanche of legal problems gets pushed out, settlements or responding to new, fresh cases all gets pushed out. So they've really been saved by the bell. Like a boxer's about to go down, but the bell saves him, right? He gets up, gets his win, gets back into the second round, right? Wasn't knocked out in the first round. So Uber was not knocked out on the 1st of January 2020. They were truly saved by the bell, and they were saved in the second round and the third round. They were saved by the pandemic bell. So they've bought themselves a lot of time as far as legal problems go. Then they say to themselves, okay, our legal costs, settling this case, settling $20 million here on this issue, misclassification, another $20 million with Lyft Reordian. They have just so many settlements. So they buy time, they delay all of those payouts, they request more times from the courts. Okay, so they win a little bit of time there. Now, with the marketing costs, the biggest costs are recruiting new drivers. Ladies and gentlemen, a new driver in LA costs them about $700 just to recruit that driver. About $500 in San Diego, about $300 in Vegas, right? About $100 in Orlando, about $20 in Bakersfield, about $50 in Palm Springs, about $1,000 in San Francisco, about $700 to $1,000 in New York. That's what new drivers cost them in actual marketing costs. They then rewrote the laws, broke the laws up, and said, April the 1st, we don't owe anybody money. That's it. And one of the reasons they did that is because the pandemic was there. So there's no people driving. We don't have to pay anybody out. So they literally freed up hundreds on their books. They freed up hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars by doing these referral shenanigans. Again, tweaking the law, changing the law in order not to pay out. I tell you, there are a lot of people, pissed people out there. I know one guy from San Francisco, the rideshare report, a guy, friend of mine, he's owed $750,000 by Uber. I am owed about $300,000 by Uber. You ask Dustin what Uber owes him. It's a lot of money. He may not give you the numbers, but it's up there. It's high up there, that money that Dustin would like to get from Uber now, thinking it was coming through, but because they rewrote and broke those laws on the 1st of April, I hope he gets it. And the only way Dustin would get it, he takes the hammer, the pick out, and chips away at them and exposes them for who they are. That's what I do. And files a lawsuit or joins a class action lawsuit. So the real problems are still coming. Romeo Bucala says, trust me, the bookkeeper will be happy to do the audit on the balance, income, and cash flow statements of Uber. And what are you basing that on? But I'm going to allow you to answer that. I'm going to jump back to the article. I truly appreciate how you guys are all part of this feed watching. I'm trying to really drum up time here, ladies and gentlemen. And what live feeds are good for one thing. You get really good YouTube rankings. You get really good Google rankings. And we have the ability to draw in a lot of the public and a lot of people just purely because of the title, right? So besides the people that are here in the room joining right now, a lot of other people trickle in and watch the feeds. I get a lot of emails and comments from outsiders, from the public, from investors, and they want my opinion. Now, my opinion is not as an expert Wall Street guy. I'm not a stockbroker. I don't make my money in stocks, here and there a little bit, right? But other people want to, find out what's on street level, what's going on, what's the pulse of the company, share some information with us. What do you feel as they investors also sometimes contact me and they say, hey, like genuinely, what is the word on the street? And I say, do I have permission to be honest with you? Yes, please. I'm on phone calls with a lot of people. I'm telling you that. Do I have permission to be honest with you? Yes, please. Be as honest as you can. Look, here's the deal. This is the beautiful story that Uber presents to you. These are the press releases that they put out. These are the stories that their media team pushes out. But reality on the street, it's very different. If Uber is telling the media, making announcement through their spokespeople, right, through their press people, that they are down 60, 70, you can bet your bottom dollar that those figures 60, 70 are rather inflated. Truth is they're probably down 80 or 90. So they always spin it one way. When they come out and paint this beautiful, pretty picture in front of all these investors saying, hey, we have $10 billion, no problems, we'll easily get through this. But then when we look at their actions, right, the little things that they are doing, stopping the Chicago project, doing this, doing that, closing all the hubs, these are all factors that show that they have to stop the bleeding and that they're hurting. Money is just flying out the back door. And the bottom line is, if some experts say that in certain cities, business has gone down by 94%, I believe that, right? Because like in my fleet of cars, I see there's maybe one driver left out of tons of drivers. They get no business for that individual. So there are we can agree on something for the next few weeks. There are just no rides in the market. It's completely dried up. You might as well walk through a hot desert looking for water. There's no oasis. There's no palm trees. There's no coconuts. There's nothing. There's just dry sand. dry sand, and your camel needs water, your camel falls down, you continue walking, and then you fall down. There's just no water. There's no water for Uber in sight. They are stuck in a dry desert. It's Moose says, years ago, I used to watch the Rideshare Report. You remember him? Yeah, he's a very, very nice guy. I wonder if he hasn't posted a video in over 3 years because of the way they pay on the referrals. That's precisely it. I know him. He built up a good blog. He made a few videos. His blog, because it was one of the very, very first out there, he's a San Francisco guy. He was one of the very, very first guys to get a blog going called the Rideshare Report, still out there. It gets excellent SEO and placement in Google. You know, the only other guy that I can think of who gets the same type of placement on Google, if you type in a search term, I'll give you a search term, Uber driver Las Vegas, or join Uber in Tokyo, join Uber in Nevada, join Uber or join Lyft in Miami. You type that in Google. He would show up. And another blog that definitely shows up these days is Harry the Rideshare Guy. Harry the Rideshare Guy, and I'm a marketing guy, right? I've built out other blogs for different companies, for the apartment world, for the real estate world, but I've never concentrated on building out a blog for rideshare. Just didn't think it would be very lucrative. It became very lucrative through the YouTube channel. I got a lot of referrals through the YouTube channel, but I am a small fish. I am a small fish if you compare me to the referrals that, well, not small fish. I'm not going to say that, right? Not small fish. I'm a decent sized fish next to a big fish when you're talking about the 2-3 top blogs. I do my marketing in a different way. I have 9,200, people don't know that, but I have 9,200 rideshare videos for 900 different cities. That's how I conduct my marketing. What they do is they build out a blog, they pay writers, and they build it organically. SEO, search engine optimization, writers, content, fresh content. Google loves that, and they climb all the way to the top of the Google searches. So Rideshare Report and Harry the Rideshare Guy get insane traffic from Google. I get insane traffic from YouTube. You may think, okay, you compare my Rideshare Professor channel against the big guys, and you say, okay, well, he's number 3 or so. But what people don't realize, and I'm sharing this with you, is that I operate 8 rideshare channels, right? And in one channel on the Rideshare Professor, I have under 2,000 videos. The other channels make up 7,200 videos. So the majority of my referrals back in the day, no more, as of April, no more, came from these other 7,200 videos, right? So I'm sharing this with you because, you know, my days of referrals are over. Dustin's days of Lyft and Uber referrals are over. Dustin, I can tell you right now, I know where he's doing well. He's doing well on Instacart. He's doing very well on Postmates. He's doing well on the other sites, on the food site, right? He's doing very, very well there. And so, you know, the tide comes in, the tide goes out, the tide comes in, the tide goes out. You live, you learn, you make money, you take your money, and then you try and diversify and put it into other things, right? And mark my words, the time of referrals is gone. Now, it's Moose is 100% correct when he says the simple driver is another one. Now, the simple driver has fantastic editing skills, some of the best out there. He doesn't have to produce a lot of content. When he produces one video, it's a class act. He's brilliant at what he does. And, but he, not the but, I'm not trying to, no negatives here. he definitely got a lot of subscribers and a lot of following and a lot of views. But he was also trying to sell the business side of it, have people look at rideshare as a business, right? And he wasn't too salesy. I'm more of a salesperson, so I will concentrate and say, okay, if you are new in that city, then you need to learn this and this and this. So when you look at, he may have more subscribers and he may have more views, but how good are his signups and his sales? You know what I mean? So just because you have a lot of subscribers and a lot of views, that doesn't necessarily equate to a conversion. A conversion is a person who signs up with you, right? It's in your wording. If you are making videos, short videos, aimed at the person to sell the product Uber, to sell the product Lyft, to sell the product Postmates, to sell the product Instacart, how can you make a quick, short message where they know they sign up here, they're going to get the help, they're going to get the assistance, and they're going to be shown how to make the money, right? That I'll tap myself on the shoulder myself, and it's not to blow my horn, but that's where I have seen the bulk of the referrals. You know, other people would turn to me and call me the referral king in the rideshare industry. And for a long time I was replaced. But, you know, I've made my money in those months, did very, very well. And it was truly time to take those money and move on to other things, because I knew that show was going to end, right? That was not a Vegas show that would go on and on and on and on and on. No, it's not. Now, you look at a show like Phantom of the Opera, a musical in London, for example, you ask yourself, 15, 20 years later, and that's still going, right? So that Andrew Lloyd Webber, who created those, he has a formula. He's a very, very wealthy guy. People always wanted that type of entertainment, musical. So it was like a bulletproof concept that just went on and on and on and on. But a lot of fads, a lot of trends do come to an end. And it was just a matter of months or a matter of a year. This referral wave was coming to an end for everyone. We were all already talking about this. I was talking to Harry about this. I was talking to Dustin about this, that the referral business was over in 2020, right? We thought it was over at the end of 2019, but they managed to go for another 3 or 4 months. And midst of the pandemic time, they pulled the program, and all of those referrals that they were supposed to still pay out. I'm talking hundreds of millions of dollars on marketing fees, right? Which reflect in these big billion dollar numbers. They yanked that all away. They said, we're not paying out that money anymore. We're going to free up that money. That was like a lifeline that they gave themselves, but knowing they have legal battles to fight for another day. So that being said, let's jump in here. Cash rules in troubled times. We know that when the pandemic is over, mark my words, all these hotels are out of business, all these restaurants that are closed, all these mom and pop shops, all these entertainment centers, whatever, people are going to swoop in, the big companies, and buy these products, buy these businesses at cents on the dollar. Cents on the dollar. They'll get the stuff for 10 cents on the dollar. People will be losing their homes over this. People will be losing their cars over this. You know, in swoop the people at the auctions buy the amount of cars that are going to hit these auctions because they were repos, the people just couldn't make the payments. People are going to sweep in and buy thousands and thousands and thousands of cars on cents of the dollar. The auto industry, I think, the used auto industry, not the brand new up and coming 2021, 22 models, but a lot of people are going to lose current vehicles. Like, it's going to lose them or hand them back to the financing house. Like, I can't make the payments. Well, guess what happens to all of those cars? They go to the auction. Guess what happens at auctions? The people with the money, the cash rules, they come in and they sweep and they buy it up. there's going to be a lot coming. So in Uber's fourth quarter 2019 conference call, CEO Dara Khosrowshahi stated the company was in a strong cash position. While this statement is true, the company had 10.9 billion in cash as of 31st of December 2019. A strong cash position would imply enough cash to last several years, not two at best, and one if the COVID-19 outbreak worsens. So let's go back to that 10.9 billion. Imagine no COVID, no nothing, right? They're still getting the ride, still getting the business. That cash that they had there, that surplus injection on sitting on the side, right, would have seen them through several years. But now that the pandemic is there, it's a complete different picture. It's a complete different ball game. Now you have $10.9 billion and you have no money coming in. And out of the 10.9 reserve, everything's going out. So it's just amazing how things changed, right? When he comes out and announces on the 31st of December, hey, we have 10.9 billion, we're fine. And if you look at the charts, if you look at the COVID and pandemic charts and say, you're completely ignoring this, yeah, it was on, the numbers were climbing in China, sure. But no, this is not going to be really a global thing. Look what happens 3.5, 4 months later. Now these guys are stressing, right? So the company's IPO bolstered its balance sheet, providing significant amounts of cash and eliminating nearly 3 billion in convertible notes from its liabilities. Uber's IPO netted the company 9.5 billion in cash, bringing the cash total to $10.8 billion. In the fourth quarter 2019 conference call, Dara Khosrowshahi gave some estimates for Uber's cash position for year-end 2020 after the COVID-19 outbreak has been controlled. The first scenario given was an 80% drop in trips with no recovery for the rest of the year, where Uber would have 4 billion in cash, and a more likely scenario where there is recovery after the second quarter, where Uber would have 6 billion at the end of 2020. Mr. Khosrowshahi also stated that as of the end of February 2020, Uber had $10 billion in cash, indicating the firm had used around 1.3 billion since the end of 2019, an annualized rate of $7.8 billion. Now, I hate to say it, but the fact is, when they were talking about an 80% drop, they were rather optimistic, thinking that 20% of their business was still going to continue on. You know, when he's throwing out these big numbers, right? Like, we'll have $4 billion cash on hand if this happens. We'll have $6 billion cash on hand if the markets open up the second quarter. My friends, in certain states around the US, right, the peak is coming. Let's say New York, Louisiana, Oregon, Portland areas, there's little peaks already hitting the curve. In other areas, it hasn't even broken out. So you're talking about second quarter scenario. That to me is completely out of the window, that argument, right? That's like thinking, you know, you'll be in full recovery mode halfway through the year. You're dreaming, right? You're dreaming. You're in the fourth month and you think that everything is going to be back, best case scenario, in 2 months' time. You are dreaming, Dara Khosrowshahi. Now let's go to the other scenario where you say, okay, it really gets bad. The market is destroyed for an entire year. And then even if that happens, we will have $4 billion cash on hand if business drops by 80%. Again, Dara Khosrowshahi, who I think is not a great leader, right, is painting two scenarios to the investors, is painting two scenarios to the outside world, is painting two scenarios to the public that make no sense at all. This $4 billion or the $6 billion cash on hand scenario makes no sense at all. The way I see it is, I look at real data where companies like Pros in Israel saying that in certain cities it's down 94%. Ladies and gentlemen, in certain cities, there's hardly any trips. There's no cars on the road, right? So let's work with more realistic figures that in the riding segment, the business is down about 90 to 92%. Are you telling me there's still 8% of the drivers are on the road driving humans around? No. The XL category is shut down. Comfort category is shut down in most of the cities. SUV and black is shut down. Luxury is shut down. Trickle, 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 few little X trips. Few little Uber X trips here and there. Trickle, 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 a couple of Uber Eats trip deliveries. But again, they drop their delivery down to $0. They're not even making money on the deliveries. The only money they're making from the restaurants, and the restaurants are dropping like flies. So these guys are not telling you the truth, right? My prediction, the way I see it, they will be lucky if they have $2 billion on hand in December. And if that's the case, and they still haven't seen recovery mode, the stress levels for 2021 will be high, because those people will still be expecting those salaries. All positions get cut, their salaries get slashed. I mean, they would have to do their most radical of radical cost cutting across the board with the executives. That means most of those people will just not be prepared to work for nothing less but what they're receiving right now, and they would leave, right? So I don't know if the company will make it. I don't know who the next generation of executives will be. I truly can't tell you. My predictions are you're very, very lucky if you see 2021 with all the negatives stacked against you. Now, it's Moose says the virus may not be controlled by the end of 2020. That's very, very possible, my friend. Very, very possible. Sad, but true. And the numbers are frightening. The numbers are frightening when you read, okay, could be 200,000 deaths. That's frightening news. It really is. Now, Uber closed a deal with the Middle East brand Careem in January, agreeing to pay $3.1 billion, $1.4 billion of which was in cash, and $1.7 billion was in convertible notes, maturing 90 days from issuance with a $55 exercise price. Uber is expected to have an operating net loss of at least that of last year, $4.3 billion, although it could be substantially higher given economic conditions. I would agree with that statement. Uber also spent $559 million on interest in 2019, which, given lower rates but increased issuance, we could expect to remain constant. Realistically, in the best case scenario, we can expect Uber's cash burn to be $8 billion. And with the true effect of the virus not known, we can expect this number to be significantly higher. Given an $8 billion cash burn in 2020, Uber would end the year with around $3 billion in cash, assuming no more debt issuance. At the current rate of operational loss, this wouldn't support operations for the whole of 2021. So I'm with this guy. I'm with this person. 100%. I said about $2 billion left. He said about $3 billion left. If that is the case, you get to 2021 with very, very little money in your bank. David Garcia, the closest I see it to even start to recover is at least midway through 2021 if they develop a cure. Thank you. Very realistic outlook. Vaccine, exactly. Then who will fall 13? Do you think the drivers striking on them is hurting them as well? Look, I don't think honestly, that's a good question. I don't think the drivers don't even have to strike anymore. The drivers are just not driving. So it's like an automatic strike. If you are going to the front lines in this pandemic, you're playing Russian roulette. It's a do or die situation. right? Most of the drivers, and I want to address then who will fall. Most of the drivers, I believe, are looking for more secure ways of making money, and that may be in the form of Instacart, Postmates, Grubhub. Again, still fairly dangerous because you have to go out, you have to mingle with people, you have to shop. Not easy. So it goes more beyond more beyond striking. To me, it looks like an entire system is just frozen right now. Need some water. It's Moo says the Uber Hub workers, are they drawing salaries or are they on unemployment because they closed the hubs? Scenario 2, they're on unemployment and they all have, like you and I and all the other people, we're talking about filing unemployment. I can't quite do that with other companies still running, but the bottom line is they're filing unemployment. It's another job, right? So you making bank on Lyft, so you're driving passengers around, right? Then who will fall? 13, you're driving passengers around. Is that correct? I was just wondering if you could give me an answer to that. Are you still okay? So is that because you need the money? If I can ask you, is that because you really, really need the money, or because you're saying, nah, this is not going to get me, it's not going to affect me? If you could answer that one for me. And this is the type of feedback I appreciate, because here I am. So yes, I do. Yes, I do to what? Yes, I do have to drive because you need the money. I respect that. So it's not like, and we're talking open here. Nobody's judging you. No one's judging me in this. We're having a very, very meaningful conversation with someone that's still on the road and that is honest enough to share with us, hey, I need the money. I need to go out there. And the reason why I think you are making bank on Lyft is because you are now one of very, very, very few drivers on the road that is still willing to work under these conditions, fulfilling trips that people are just not fulfilling for these riders and passengers. But there you are driving around. I'm going to tell you something that, do I have permission to be very honest here with you? Do I have permission to be very, very honest with you? So, yes, go ahead. And, you and I are having a great conversation. So he has given me permission to be very honest. And I'm just gonna pray that no one gets into your car that coughs or sneezes, right? Right? So yes, you keep yourself very protected, I'm sure, and I appreciate that you are full on into you have your mask, you probably have your gloves, you're all closed up, right? A lot of disinfectant, you clean your car down, but you cannot take the eye off the ball. You have to be 100% self-protected all the time. Not once can you let your guard down. That goes from touching your handles. Any little bit gets anywhere on your skin and makes contact once, takes a billionth of a particle and it just starts manifesting and growing in your body, right? So I would truly ask you, that's the other part which you also correctly doing, is you're keeping your immune system ultra high. And when somebody says they are doing everything, they know how to boost the immune system, that usually means they know exactly what to take. A lot of D3, a lot of the other good stuff that I, for example, sent to Tina today. So I just pray, I'm on your side. I want you to be okay. I want you to pull through this. I want to have a conversation with you, my friend, in 5 months. I still want to see you here. I don't want nothing to happen to you, right? I pray that you get through this. That's what I and the people in the room, I'm sure, pray for you as well. Because there's many people like me and others are at home. Okay, I have my reserves. I don't have to go out there, nor will I. But I completely respect that when you say to me, I need the money. I need the money. And the money's not coming in. You have all your overheads, right? You don't have to name them. And then you gave me permission to be honest. I was honest with you. And you are a rare case, right? That's out there doing the max on protection and the max for your immunity. Without ever, please never let the ball down. At all times, all minutes, everything you touch, you have to be careful, right? And you'll get through this. But then on the other hand, right, I see drivers, not many. The other day, I'm driving down to Long Beach. I was in my live stream, I was reporting on this. A guy's driving by me, Uber and Lyft stickers, 2 people in the back, no one in the front, and just the driver. So he had 2 passengers. I know where he was going. He's going to LAX, right? Or somewhere, downtown or wherever it was. No one was wearing masks, right? No one was wearing covers. And that guy might as well just spin the revolver and click, and hope there's not a bullet in the barrel, right? The other day, about a week ago, I came back 11:30 at night. The Lyft driver had stopped 2 streets away from my house, police cars everywhere. The passengers were over here, the driver was over here, police was over here, police was over there. And they said to the Lyft driver, I heard it because I pulled aside. I want to listen to the conversation. I thought somebody got shot or something, right? Or something was going on, which is unusual in this neighborhood. You don't really see tons and tons of police cars around a specific happening at that time of the night. So like, what's going on here? The policeman said, why did you throw them out? He said, oh, they started coughing and everything in the car. And I'm just worried that, they may expose me to the virus. Here's the reality, Lyft driver, on that night. You want to hear something? You were wearing no gloves, no mask, no nothing. You threw the people out the moment they started coughing, probably too late. And I asked that Lyft driver, not the gentleman then who will fall, because he's done everything the right way to continue working. But I asked that Lyft driver from last week, were you not paying attention to the news? Were you not paying attention to all the emails you were being sent, what Uber sent you, what Lyft sent you? Did you never switch on your TV? Did you never read a newspaper? Did you never have a conversation with neighbors about this COVID-19? And here a week ago, you decide to throw out 2 people out of your car, but you not being protected, no mask, no nothing. That is the definition, excuse my French, of a very effing stupid driver. And towards that individual, I have judgment because all the red flags were there, right? On the other hand, dude, come on, man. I'm here. I think you're the type of guy that would be wearing a mask and gloves at all times. You're disappointing me here. Say, then who will fall? No, I don't wear a mask. I don't wear gloves. I clean my car. I know Ozium, I spray the car. I'll be here. God is with me. If I lived half of my life in the south side of Chicago, no coronavirus is going to kill me. Well, my friend, all the praying in the world is not going to help you, right? If you don't go out and get this yesterday, if you don't go out and get these yesterday, if you don't go out and get yourself goggles and that, I thought I was speaking to someone who was 100% educated on the topic. I'm not buying that, my friend. I am not. I'm not. You think your immune system will get you up. You don't have to wear masks. You don't have to wear gloves. You're okay, and God will be there with you. I don't think that's the right attitude, and I'm just being Again, you gave me permission to be honest. I just read that. I'm giving you my street talk. I'm giving you my 25 cents, whatever that is worth to you, that you need to brush up your act tomorrow, right? If you want to have a conversation with us in 4 or 5 months' time, right? All the praying in the world ain't going to get you out of it. You need to take max precaution. I thought you were a max precaution type of person. So gloves, masks, everything you can possibly, I'm not giving you fear mongering. The word fear, false illusion appearing real, I don't engage with that. I give you facts. And if you are not a facts person, if you think that you're above it, if you think that you're above the media, right, then you do it your way. You know what I mean? I don't have to say anything to you anymore. You know it better, right? You know, I have a lot of drivers that work with me. I have a big audience. I read 300 or 400 emails a day. I'm dialed in worldwide, and here you are telling me I shouldn't engage in fear mongering. I am not giving you fear mongering. I'm giving you complete and utter clear fact that you'll get from nobody else. So I'm telling you right now, go and buy yourself a revolver, take all the bullets out, right? Put one bullet in the barrel and spin it after every trip, right? That's not fear, that's reality. That's what you're playing. You're playing Russian roulette with your life. When you're hitting the peak of the pandemic, hey, I'm killing it on Lyft. You said it, I'm killing it on Lyft. I'm making a lot of money. And then you tell me, no, I'm well prepared, right? I keep my immune system up and I know how to be safe. And when you tell me that, when you say I know how to be safe, right, I would still question now that you've told me that. I would ask you, what are you doing for your immune system, right? Because the last message that you gave me is that you are not practicing safety at all. Because if you were safe, you'd have your goggles on, your mask on, and your gloves on. You think that a little bit of spray in your car is going to see you through? My friend, it was no fun to ship out medications and supplements and real good immune stuff, real good lung stuff to a friend that told me today she had COVID-19. And I know several other people, and I've received a lot of other videos. Don't kid yourself, my friend. Stand up, rise up, educate yourself, and change your thinking. Change your thinking. And David Garcia says, the guy is lost. I'm wasting my I am now wasting my time. I realize that I'm wasting my time. And I'm going to move back to the article. I'm done as far as that goes. I've said what I have to say. You know, I'm not engaging in fear-mongering. I'm engaging in facts. I am wasting my time. And then Jenna says, what about your family? Or you're not, he's obviously not concerned for them. He's not. So there we go. I'm done there. I don't have to say more. But that's why it's important to have a conversation, because I really get down to the bottom of things, right? I ask specific questions. I ask for permission to be honest, to go back and forth, and I really get down to the bottom of the matter. I got in a one-on-one with a driver tonight. I got down to what looks to me like a scary, scary future scenario. But hey, this issuance would usually cause little issue. However, with Uber looking to need more debt to fund operations between now and 2023, if profitability isn't improved, the ability of the company to secure this debt seems unstable. This provides a significant liquidity risk and at best would significantly weaken the balance sheet with higher yielding debt if cash flows are not bolstered in the coming 3 years. So they say, if cash flows are not bolstered in the coming 3 years, if we look at David Garcia's sort of like vision on this whole thing, like, okay, mid-2021, things start bouncing back to normal. I would be with David Garcia on this one. I really would, right? Then, you know, They might make it. They might make it here. With the Fed's target rate being brought significantly lower, many companies are looking to take advantage of cheaper money. However, and by the way, pumping in cheaper money, cheaper money into the market, pumping in cheaper money, it's the same as like Band-Aid after Band-Aid after Band-Aid, right? You're just putting tons and tons of Band-Aids of the economy. You're not fixing the problem. You're just injecting cheaper and cheaper money. At some point, the bubble bursts, right? We saw this in the dot-com era, in early 2000s, when that huge bubble, that dot-com bubble burst. We saw that in 2008 when the real estate market completely fell apart. It just exploded. It burst. So the Feds think they're just going to keep on pumping in cheaper money. Okay, it's a short-term Band-Aid, but I think it's going to pose a lot of future problems. However, Uber's biggest downside to holding significant levels of debt is the high interest paid on notes due to poor credit ratings. True. Currently, Uber's credit is rated as junk at both Moody's and S&P. S&P gave it a B negative rating on Uber's most recent debt offering in July 2019, also including a recovery rating of 2, 70% to 90% recovery in event of default, citing an expected EBITDA break-even of 2023, although COVID-19 was not factored into this, right? It doesn't even factor COVID into this. S&P rated Uber's unsecured debt one rank lower at CCC+, but gave a much lower recovery ratio of 5%. That's 10 to 30% recovery in event of default, giving limited potential future cash and increased future debt. And again, that is not taking COVID-19 into consideration. Moody's gave the same 2027 senior note a B3 rating, while rating Uber one stepped higher at B2. Uber currently has a debt equity ratio of 51.6%. David Garcia says, tell Boris Johnson it's a hoax, right? So Boris Johnson, 55 years old, got admitted into the ER, emergency, right? He's on machines right now. And, everyone prays for the British UK minister. Everyone hopes, no one hopes that no one dies. I don't hope that Boris Johnson dies. I hope he pulls through. But I don't think in his wildest dreams, he would have, or his family would have thought, wow, it would escalate to that. And I do notice someone who has gone extremely quiet, right? Then who will fall or fail has gone extremely quiet on me, which is fine. And I don't need to push any further. I've truly said what I said, and I hope you take my conversation serious, my friend. I really do. I truly, truly hope you get on Amazon tonight. You're making this money on Lyft, you say. You're doing very well. Get on Amazon and make sure that tonight you go out and get the essentials, or go shopping around tomorrow at CVS or whatever and try and get your hands on a couple of things, or go down to Home Depot, or get yourself a bandana, get yourself some glasses, get yourself some gloves. I'm sure you have some winter gloves. Do whatever it takes. Do whatever it takes. But I'm not buying. I don't fall for the fear mongering. Not buying it. Sorry. Uber currently has a debt equity ratio of 51.6%, up from 40% after the IPO in the second quarter. Due to the cash injection and debt reduction from the IPO, Uber's debt equity ratio fell from 150% in the first quarter, which was up from 95.5% in quarter 1, 2018. I see Uber's long-term solvency ratios to continue to degrade as the firm's accumulated deficit rises and either more cash or debt is used to fund operations. There we go. And either more cash or debt is used, so meaning at some point they will take on more debt and more debt and more debt just to get through this, right? Their ratings will go down and down and down. Uber currently has an Altman Z-score of 1.5, putting the firm in the danger of bankruptcy range of any reading below 1.8. This is up from negative 0.2 in Q1 2018. Nathaniel Davies, I was watching a movie and just letting it run so you can rack up your 4,000 hours. You're a star, my friend. I appreciate it. Just rack up those hours. And policy and legal risks. And we're nearly there. We're nearly at the conclusion, and then I'll let everyone go and we can get some rest. But you guys are rock stars for hanging in with me. Policy and legal risks. Uber has seen significant pushback from taxi firms and local governments around the globe, from a potential ban in London to issues in Germany, France, Italy, Finland, and the Netherlands, not to mention Brazil, not to mention Colombia, which they haven't even mentioned India. Uber has had its fair share of encounters with local and national governments. However, in more recent years, Uber's battle with regulators has eased as ride-sharing becomes more mainstream and widely accepted. I see the risks declining for Uber, especially in the United States, its main market. I see one of their biggest risks in the field of suits, lawsuits, class action lawsuits coming their way. Not even factored into this conversation. It's not even mentioned in this conversation. Oh, hang on. Uber has also been at the center of an employee pay lawsuit in which it has avoided paying billions in employment taxes and not paying the minimum wage by classing, I shouldn't have spoken too soon, by classing drivers as contractors, not as employees. Several states, including New Jersey, New York, and California, have ruled against Uber. It's not just in the United States. UK courts followed suit, also ruling that drivers were employees. Uber stated that this change could raise costs for the firm by 20%, potentially costing it billions per year. That's the beginning. That's the beginning. It'll be higher than that because those are not the only lawsuits coming on employment taxes. A lot of the lawsuits will be focused around their negligence during the pandemic. That wave is still coming. Mark my words. David Garcia, you know, if we're lucky and the virus gets in control mid-2021, it could be 3 years before our economy gets back on track. We're in for some very, very scary times ahead. That is reality. Those are facts, right? This is not just a quick fix, oh, we'll get over this, it'll continue. The damage, once the storm is over, you have to assess the damage. It's going to be a lot of damage there, right? It's Moose says, this virus is very real. Heard a statistic that the virus death rate is 40 times the normal flu. Yeah. You know, we may be heading to some figures around 200,000 deaths. You know, it's like a ticking time bomb. Abel Koskakutli says, good evening. I haven't been on lately. Did you go over or talk about the SAB loans, small business emergency loans? I did this afternoon. I briefly touched on that. That was on a first come, first service. They were very easy to fill out. The problem is that thousands and thousands and thousands of people filled out those applications. My guess is the first people that got in there right in the beginning may have luck, right, Abel? So hopefully you were one of those very, very early people to get that link, get that information, and fill it out right away. Now the conclusion here, right? The conclusion to my story that says the future does not look bright for Uber. That's you know, I'm not a pessimist. I'm a big optimist. But everything that I'm looking at in the Uber story is not painting a great picture. The conclusion, the next 6 months will be key for Uber. Listen to this. The next 6 months will be key for Uber. And the true effect of the COVID-19 outbreak on rides demand will be deeply negative. We can all agree on that, right? Eats remains a different story. If Uber can maintain demand for the service after many high demand restaurants close and reduce driver costs as the supply of drivers for Eats increases, then Eats could provide a positive boost to the bottom line. However, I still believe that increases in Eats demand will have a net negative effect on income in 2020. The big question for Uber's management, listen up, Uber's management, these are the people that I call out every single day, right? The big question for Uber's management is, can it stay solvent long enough to begin profitable operations? Uber is sticking with its end of 2020 profitability target, which given current economic conditions seems far-fetched. It's not even far-fetched, it's virtually impossible. I'm not saying Uber is not an amazing idea and it has huge potential, but tech in 2000 comes to mind. It might be a fantastic idea, but is there a way of executing it profitable? Currently for Uber, it would seem not. I would agree with a person. Nathaniel Davies says, watch Dr. Eric Berg, DC. He gives good advice against the virus. He got 3.5 million subscribers. Okay, I'll go and check him out afterwards. Nathaniel Davies on how to keep you safe. I will. I appreciate that lead. I'll check it up. So I would not suggest opening a short position on Uber currently, given increased market volatility. But it would be ill-advised to open or hold a long position before Uber releases first quarter financials and the true impact of the virus on operations and cash burn is seen. Again, we're waiting on that first quarter, the first quarter financials. My question is, how much are they really going to fudge those numbers or massage them or twist them or inflate them or juice them up, right? Because if those first quarter financials are bad, Uber is in a dangerous, dangerous position. I believe that excluding the virus, Uber would be at home trading around 20. However, due to the risk of the virus poses to Uber's long-term liquidity, a discount should be applied at least until the full financial picture becomes clear. I really like this article. And I mean, we broke it down. We spoke about, all the points, the title being virus could push cash bleed over the edge. Question is, will they have to file bankruptcy in 2021 or will they get through 2021? Your thoughts, my friends. Anyway, everyone, please wear your masks. If you go out the house, if you're driving, please put your gloves on. You can still get these at a very high price on Amazon. And please spray disinfectant, which I have around. Use your hand sanitizer, your wipes. Wash down, take a lot of hot showers, about 2 showers a day, 1 in the morning, 1 at night. Get your clothing into the washing, right? Anytime there is a delivery, a parcel, the mail, be careful how you pick it up, right? Use paper, use a cloth, spray even parcels, Amazon parcels, anything that's coming into your house, groceries, clean it, wash it, soap your hands, spray down the packaging, spray down the packets. Never let your eye off the ball, right? And to the individual early on who thinks that that God is going to get him through this, and he's still out there driving without a mask and gloves, I say to you, be careful, my friend. Be very, very careful. And that's not fear-mongering. I'm basing that on facts. Everyone here tonight, be well, be safe. Wish you a fantastic night. Thank you for sticking it out with me. You do me a huge, huge favor that once this feed is done, you could maybe just put the phone aside and let it run for another, do a repeat. You don't have to watch it again, just put it on repeat and let it run all the way through. So you can maybe just let it run for another 1 hour and 40 minutes. That'll help big time, you know. Thank you. It was a good one. It felt like it was very, very productive. I felt like we had a lot of meaningful conversations tonight. Good night, everyone. Stay safe, and I will connect with you tomorrow. God bless. San Diego, Rideshare Pro, Uber's current CEO and management may not succeed, but Rideshare is here to stay in the near future. Who will be the final player after this ends is the real question. It's a great question. The real player might be a combination of Amazon buying Lyft and Uber, the submarine going down, right? We don't know, but I like the way you worded it. I'm going to read that again. It says, Uber's current CEO and management may not succeed, but Rideshare is here to stay in the near future. Who will be the final player after this ends is the real question. It's very well said. Probably very, very wise words, you know. Those words will probably be quoted in 2021 again, Thomas. Thomas, stay safe. Nathaniel, stay safe. Benslick, David Garcia, Genuine, Abel, everyone in the house, all 14 people watching. If anybody hasn't hit the like button, please do it now. I might even be able to push this to 20 likes. And again, thank you so much for joining me during a live stream tonight. Good night, everyone.